Tim Stewart liked to boast about his friendship with Scott Morrison. One associate who says he heard these boasts was Eliahi Priest, a self-styled online anti-corruption crusader who was questioned by counter-terrorism police after social media posts where he said he'd successfully hacked the Prime Minister's office. Priest, who met Tim Stewart once in 2018, claims Stewart said he could pass information to the PM.
Tim had said that he could make evidence I had about government corruption available to the Prime Minister and have the Prime Minister of Australia act on that evidence.
Priest says Tim Stewart sent him this picture of Tim and Scott Morrison together.
I can't emphasise enough how close Tim said the families were, which was why he said there was a way, due to that closeness, that he could influence the Prime Minister.
At the time, Scott Morrison was preparing for one of his first acts as Prime Minister, a national apology to survivors of institutional child sexual abuse. Eliahi Priest set up a meeting with Tim Stewart and others. The group wanted the phrase ritual sexual abuse included in the national apology. Eliahi Priest showed Four Corners messages he says Tim Stewart sent him, referring to his attempts to get the words ritual abuse into the apology.
I am organising an intimate strategy for the PM, re the ritual phrase. OK, mate, I'm just preparing a message to Scott now, re Monday. Once he's awake, mate, he will kick ass.
Priest says he also received a text message Tim Stewart said he had sent to his wife, Lynelle.
An army of victims and therapists would specifically love it if Scott's apology referenced ritual abuse victims. This exact wording is a key phrase for victims. Think of this like a code that sends a direct and clear message that they have been heard by Scott specifically.
That morning, Tim Stewart's text to Eliahi Priest suggested he was feeling confident.
Good morning, mate. I think Scott is going to do it. Pretty sure speech is at 11. I hope he says it. Scott is very aware of the enormity of today.
Government business, notice number 1, motion relating to the national apology to victims and survivors of institutional child sexual abuse.
At 11 a.m, the Prime Minister rose to deliver the historic speech.
I move that the House apologise to the victims and survivors of institutional child sexual abuse. It happened anywhere a predator thought they could get away with it, and the systems within these organisations allowed it to happen and turned a blind eye. It happened day after day, week after week, month after month, decade after decade. Unrelenting torment. The crimes of ritual sexual abuse happened in schools, churches, youth groups, scout troops, orphanages, foster homes.
But close observers of the process were taken aback by the use of the phrase ritual sexual abuse.
Ritual child sexual abuse wasn't a focus of the Royal Commission. It wasn't evident in the reports or in the recommendations. And so certainly there were questions about where did this phrase come from? How did it arise? How did it come to be in the Prime Minister's speech in the manner that it was? I'm in contact with international networks of mental health workers particularly who treat children and adults who have been subject to sexual exploitation. And I was contacted, I was emailed, people reached out about this phrase. It is a phrase that we're aware of. It's a very sensitive phrase.
The use of the phrase ritual sex abuse would have been taken as validation of the conspiracy theory by QAnon followers because it's a person in authority using this phrase which appears to directly reference the conspiracy theory.
Immediately after the apology, Tim Stewart began tweeting triumphantly, using his Twitter account @BurnedSpy34.
What a great speech. At Scott Morrison MP acknowledging the victims of ritual abuse. A new conversation began today in Australia. It was a stepping stone, to be sure, but we took the step. Scott Morrison MP took control of the narrative powerfully and commenced phase 1 of our restoration.
Tim Stewart's son Jesse, who is also a QAnon follower, celebrated on Twitter using QAnon codes and hashtags.
You know the Great Awakening is in full swing when the Australian Prime Minister @Scott Morrison MP mentions ritual abuse. Scott is a patriot.